What's up, everyone? As always, if you missed this, don't have time to watch the whole thing live, feel free to go a couple days after we get them up on YouTube, Spotify, iTunes. So feel free to watch it whenever you have a chance. Man,
Hey, what's
how,
up, brother?
how you doing?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. How are you?
Just teasing me with that beautiful weather.
I thought I might give you a little taste of
Oh,
home.
I'm jealous. I miss it. I miss that weather.
I'm sure you do. What do you guys got right now?
Today, well, it was sunny today, so that's an improvement, but it was maybe like tops 40, and that's like the warmest day this week. So,
No way. Yeah. No,
not,
I'm spoiled now. I'm getting a taste of Florida. I'm glad I ended up down here.
no, it's a great place to live. I'm glad I spend my off seasons at least there.
That's all right. Are you guys, so what's the deal? Are you guys practicing right now or?
Just by themselves right now.
Yeah.
They're saying maybe in a couple weeks we can start doing team trainings again, so hopefully. But I'll tell you the biggest frustration I had. I got a new jacket, got it like tailored, everything like a proper manager for game day
Nice.
jacket.
Yep.
Winter one,
Yep.
won't have to, I brought it all the way here to just have it sit in my
Wow.
closet. So
Yep. Yep. Yeah, you do have great manager swag. I was gonna tell you that.
that's, hey, you know what I say? I say you got to look the part at least. At least you got
No,
that, you know? Even
that's
if you
right.
lose, then at least you look like you knew what you were doing.
That's right. That's right. No, man, it looks sharp out there. It looks sharp out there.
I appreciate it. All right, guys, welcome back to another footy and coffee conversations. Are you drinking any coffee today?
I am drinking a little bit.
What?
It's a little late here, but I am drinking a little bit of coffee out of my Cowboys cup that
Oh,
just delivered from Amazon today. So definitely
oh,
on it.
Cowboys. Come on,
Hmm.
man. I mean, I
The one and
know.
only. It's a tough existence. It's like being an Arsenal fan.
Are you an Arsenal fan?
Absolutely not.
Okay, good. I was
No,
gonna
no, no.
say
Yeah.
you
No,
can't be both fans.
no. Oof. No, that would be too rough. That'd be too rough. I'm a Bayern Munich fan all the way. Going back, that's where my family originated out of was Munich. My godparents still live in Aschaffenburg, right outside Munich.
Oh wow.
So yeah, we got close ties, and actually that was one of the things that I bonded with Marcel Schaefer over because little known fact, he's from Aschaffenburg. I mean, it's probably
Oh
like
wow.
30,000 people, and we kind of realized it on the field in Rochester. We were playing, and I knew who Marcel was. I'd grown up watching him. So now I'm playing against him, and I remember there's an injury break, a water break, and I walked over to him, and he was drinking, and I was like, "Oh, shit, I'm gonna say something." So I'm like, "Hey, Marcel, like, huge fan, like, dude, it's awesome to be playing against you. I appreciate you, like, coming over. How's it been?" And he's like, "Oh man, Jochen, like, very German." I was like, "Yeah, my family's from Aschaffenburg," and he's like, "Oh, Aschaffenburg, I'm from Aschaffenburg." And then from then on, I was just like, yeah, it was cool. He's a really cool guy at that point. Like after the game, we chatted, gave me his number. We started talking at that point. And that was a big reason why I think I got to make the move down here.
I like that. That's
Yeah, man.
crazy.
Yeah.
We had a similar thing with Cause last year. We were playing in a game, and he's like playing against this midfielder, and he's like, he looks so familiar. So he looks at the roster after the game, and he realizes it's a guy that played for the Chicago Fire when he was in the youth academy that he had
No
like watched
way.
growing up.
Yep. Yep. It's fun, man. It's cool. Soccer's such a small world, right?
Yeah, very small. All right, so just to get started, if you want to talk a little bit about your youth career, what that looked like, how you ended up deciding what university to go to, and then we'll get into it.
Sure, man. Yeah. So I grew up in Dallas. Every Dallas kid growing up wants to play at SMU, especially those days. SMU was top four for like felt like forever. So I started. I was at Dallas Texans for quite some time, and then ended up making a switch over to a club called Andromeda, which is where I found a ton of success. We had a really good team. I was there for my last 3 years of academy. We won back-to-back national championships. That was pre-DA days and all that stuff. So it was still U.S. youth soccer. Yeah, back-to-back national championships. Was on an awesome team. Led the country in goals both of those years, and ended up committing to SMU early my junior year. So had that going, and yeah, that was special because, like I said, growing up, you wanted to play there.
Is
Lucky to.
professional soccer on your radar at all at that time?
I mean, that was my dream. That's what I always wanted to do. I mean, at that point, I didn't know necessarily if I had what it took. I was just, I was just trying to do the best I could. And I think, college was always a big emphasis in my house. My parents were very set on me going. And once I started getting some offers and calls, it seemed like that was going to be the route for sure. But looking at the amount of players that SMU pumps into MLS and stuff like that, that was definitely what I was hoping for.
Absolutely. So you end up deciding on SMU. You go there. Kind of talk through what happens at that
Yeah,
point.
man. Yeah, no. So Shellis Hinman was the coach that recruited me. Legendary coach, been there 20 plus years. 2 weeks before preseason, calls me and says, I'm taking the FC Dallas job. And FC Dallas have been trying to get him for a long time. He's a big name in the area.
Mm-hmm.
And he had finally decided to go for it. So that kind of meant we were a little bit out of luck. But, he's like, don't worry, you're going to be in good hands. Tim McClements is the assistant coach. He's going to take over. Your scholarship, everything's going to be good to go. I'll be watching. So we'll stay in touch, whatever. So get there. Preseason's going great. I'm loving it. 3 weeks in, we're playing against Tyler Junior College, Dom Dwyer, and
Yeah.
tear my meniscus. I rounded the goalkeeper, got played in on a breakaway, rounded the goalkeeper, and he just cleaned me out, tore my meniscus. So that was kind of the end of my freshman year. Luckily, it was just a little shave. It wasn't a repair, so it wasn't too long of a layoff. But yeah, that was a bit of a bummer. And the team went from being incredible, obviously many years before, to super mediocre, and a lot of players didn't like the change. So it wasn't for me either. So I ended up transferring to Bradley. Jim DeRose had been recruiting me through high school, and that was one of my other choices that I liked a lot. So went up, checked it out, tons of snow, had no idea what I was looking at, and ended up deciding to go there.
And you had was it two sisters that played tennis at Bradley?
That's right. Both of them. It was funny actually. The head tennis coach was like 6'5", 215, just a huge guy, and he would work the security behind our bench at home games. So I got to know him pretty well, really cool guy, and I told him, my little sisters play tennis, we're super close family, would love to have them around. What do you think like you could do as far as getting them up here? And he goes, oh, absolutely, I'll take a look. And yeah, sure enough, one came, and then the other one came shortly after, so we were all three up there at the same time.
Oh wow. Yeah, what was your first thought that first winter?
Dude, I don't know, man. We were playing in a bubble. I'd never seen a bubble before. I mean, I was freezing, and like I played in snow, but like living in it was just, it was something else. It was definitely a different experience. Little did I know it was foreshadowing of things to come, and where I'd end up. But yeah, no, that was pretty scary experience the first few weeks living up there.
Yeah, I can imagine. My roommate freshman year was from Texas as well, so it's
Right.
a big adjustment going up into that winter.
No doubt about it.
So how does Bradley go for you? What's your experience through those years?
Bradley was good for me. It was a place where I was able to come in as a freshman, and even though I was playing, I played a little bit out of position. I played on the right wing my first year. It was a good experience. I think a lot of things that college lacks as far as player development, especially outside the big schools like Akron, North Carolina, Duke, these schools, you see a lot of players, their growth is stunted a little bit, because college has a way of playing, and obviously with substitution rules and stuff, where I don't know that it necessarily prepares players the best way to transition into the professional game. But what I did take out of that was, how to be a young guy coming into a locker room in a completely different culture, completely different city. The guys were really, really, tough. I came in straight away and took spot of a guy who's an upperclassman who'd been waiting his turn basically.
Oh, wow.
And that wasn't great for me as far as the upperclassmen. Yeah, they wanted me to do well when I was playing, but they were pretty tough on me, and it was difficult. But like I said, it prepared me. It helped me a lot in that way to kind of take what it's like to be an international player coming into a locker room in another country, to be a young guy coming into a locker room with older guys. So I definitely took a lot out of that. And work ethic. I mean, college soccer, you know how it is. It's a track meet. It's up and down, especially the way that Bradley played. So Yeah, man, I took a lot out of it. Not your traditional develop your ability and tactical awareness and all that stuff, but I did take a lot from it.
Yeah, I feel like Bradley's pretty notorious for their fitness and
Yeah,
running and tests and things like that. Obviously, you're
yeah,
kind of a grinder and willing to work hard on the field.
yeah.
What was your experience with that first preseason with the fitness tests and all?
Well, we ran, and it's kind of an infamous fitness test at Bradley called the 2-1-1, which obviously doesn't really equate to what the modern game is, but it was a mental test, and we would run 2 miles under 12 minutes, 6 minute break, 1 mile in under six, 6 minute break, 1 mile in under six. So, I know a lot of guys are doing boredom fitness at this point with the quarantine and stuff. Like, if you want to give it a go, get out there. It's not fun. It's not fun. I think I must have run it 6, 7 times in my college career, and every mile never fails. After the third mile, I'm throwing up.
Oh,
Same spot because it was through a neighborhood. So same spot every year. I would walk by it throughout the school year, and I'd be like, "I will see you in the spring." Like I knew that was going to be my spot every time.
I hope you like gave a little care package to the neighbors. Like, sorry about leaving that on your front lawn.
Yeah, no, I never really. There was nothing that they were going to go through finding my throw up there that I didn't just go through delivering it. So I didn't actually have any regrets.
Oh gosh, but you passed every time.
Passed every time. Finished
There
top
you go.
five every once in a while. So
Not bad, not bad. And yeah, you had a successful on the field career at Bradley. What we finished with ranked eighth in career assists for
mhm.
Bradley, and what total 15 goals, I believe.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
then
no,
in 2012, led the Valley Conference with points per game.
yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
had a lot of success there. At what point uh, at your time at Bradley is professional soccer change from just a dream to more of a realistic reality?
I think going into my senior year, I had a good idea that I had a shot to make it. I just seen Brian Gall get drafted, and he was having a great time with LA, and I thought, okay, well at least there's a little bit of attention at the school, so if I can come in and put up double digit goals and we make the tournament, then I've got a chance. So went for it, but first 6 7 games, I think I had 5 goals. It was off to a really good start, and then I ended up tearing my right quad, one of the muscles in my quad. Um, and it was totally, unfortunately, and it happens sometimes, just totally misdiagnosed, poorly taken care of. Ended up just totally butchering my senior year, which, looking back, it's difficult because, you always think like what could have been if I would have stayed healthy, they would have treated me the right way, everything would have been taken care of. But, that's the way it goes. I learned a lot of lessons from that too.
Yeah, absolutely. So you finish college and then kind of talk through the route of how professional soccer becomes a reality at that point.
At that point, it felt really far away. And I kind of kept trying to play through the injury I had, and I needed time to recover. So I'd gotten invited to come into Indy 11's like identification camp type of thing when they were doing the first year before they'd started,
Okay.
and that was Jurgen Sommer, and he's a legend. He brought me in, and things went really well. They wanted to sign me, so packed my stuff, went back to Santa Barbara where my parents were living to get all my things, and was waiting on the contract. And I get a call, and oh Yock, like, listen, man, really, it's a tough conversation, but we're actually going to end up passing. We've got an opportunity to sign a pretty high level player, so you and the two other college guys that we were planning on signing, we're not going to be able to do it. And I was like, okay, well, who are you bringing in? And he's like, well, you got to keep it on the low. There's not that many people know yet, but it's Cleberson. I was like, okay, great. Sounds good, man. Thanks for nothing.
Yeah.
So that was my first experience, no agent, kind of on my own. My first experience with the professional game, and it was kind of a rude awakening just to find out that people don't really care. They just care about what they can do to kind of improve their stock and their position and stuff like that. So yeah, missed out on that one, and ended up where we met in Chicago at Bridges. I spoke to Brett Hall, and obviously everybody that's familiar with Bridges or the Chicago soccer scene knows this guy. And I mean, he just, yeah, he taught me a lot about myself and about what it actually takes to go from having everything as a Division I athlete and getting treated like you're the next thing to realizing what it really takes to make it. So I owe a lot to that guy, and yeah, Bridges was the first glimpse of what I was going to have to put in to be able to overcome not getting drafted. And I was willing to do it.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember how we or our first encounter that
No, and
summer.
we were messaging about this, but I don't know, and I'm a little bit
So,
nervous because I was kind of a prick back then. So
I had graduated on a Saturday from university and had driven up that night to Chicago. And I get in, so it's Sunday. It's my first full day after, graduating. I'm still on like a high of getting my degree. And Brett texts me and goes, "Hey, we have training at Campton United tonight at like 10:30 or 11 at night. Can you come?"
yeah,
And I was
yeah,
like, I mean, I guess I'm in Chicago. I might as well. So I go there, and it's my first time back in front of Brett and the team in 6 months or something. So I'm trying to, you know, be out there and working hard and everything. And I get paired against you and we're playing some drill, and obviously I'm a defender, you're an attacker. And I don't know what happens exactly, but I like fall or something, and I get cleated on my thigh. And dude, I remember it was so like the bruise is nasty. I even put it on Instagram. I'll post the photo
please
over
do,
this part. And I had
please
this
do.
bruise for like the next like 2 weeks. And I get home and I'm like, oh no. Because then I'm just thinking, he's a striker, so I'm just going to be having to defend him all summer. This is how the first day went. This is not going to be good for us.
We went at it all summer too, man, didn't we? We had who else was it? Was it Ozzy? I'm trying to remember who was the that went to school with you. The guy who played for Indy, tall guy, really really good center back.
Oh, Corey Miller.
Corey Miller. Corey
Yeah,
Miller. Yeah, there
he
it
is
is.
so
Yeah.
tall.
The tall, you two were just skyscrapers over me. I remember battling you guys, and yeah, good summer though.
Yeah, so that was my first interaction with you. So I was nervous at
Friendly.
that point, but yeah, very friendly. It got better.
Yeah, yeah, that's right, man. That's right. What a time.
Uh, so you go on the Bridges summer trip. You get signed. If you want to talk about that, what's your experience then in Europe?
Yeah, yeah, that was a really cool trip. We got to play against some big clubs, and obviously anyone who's ever been on one of those trips with Bridges knows it's interesting. And I think we were playing, we've been playing Superettan teams, teams from the top league in Denmark, and that was where I was aiming, and that's where Bridges was hoping I would land. And I don't remember more than maybe two or three guys getting trials or anything out of that trip, even though it felt like we had a pretty good team. And then we go down to the small city in Sweden called Lidköping, and we're playing a game. And Brett calls me over the night before, and he's sitting there, he's smoking his half-smoked cigar from the day before, sitting out, and he's like, come over here, sit with me. So I sit down with him, and always trying to listen and just soak up everything he says. And he's like, listen, tomorrow is a game for the young guys that are here on the trip, get them a chance to get on the field and stuff. And he goes, but this is a team that needs a striker. Because I'm going to put you on in the second half. Just go destroy them. Go destroy them. Let's put you out there. It'll be a good start. And, there's 2 months left in the season here. You stay here for 2 months. You enjoy it, and then we move you up. It'll be a good place for you to get some visibility. So
Hmm.
sure thing, coach. Whatever you say. Go to bed the next day. Halftime comes around, puts me in. I remember scoring twice, and yeah, 20 minutes later after the game, I'm sitting there. I'm excited just because I love scoring goals, and I was happy to be there. And him and Emo call me over, and they're like, "Listen, man, these guys want to sign you. What do you think? You want to stay? Whatever." And I think at the end of it, they offered me something like $400 plus a cabin and like a grocery store gift card or some shit like that.
They get you
And
a bicycle at least?
yeah, I got a bike,
There you go.
used bike though, not new, used bike, and yeah, I was super excited to be there, and it turned out to be some of my fondest memories. that coach there, Giddis, was incredible for me. I spent every morning, because the team didn't train until 3, 4 in the afternoon. I spent every morning training with him. We lived right down the street from each other. He was just football obsessed. He would have me to his house. His wife would make dinner. We would sit and talk strategy and tactics and watch games and do all this stuff. And it was exactly what I wanted to be doing at that point. So
And
I love that.
from maybe coming from Bridges, which is maybe more so similar to Bradley in the sense of just like pure outworking teams. I'm
Right.
sure that was beneficial to your career to have kind of
Right.
sitting down and focusing more on the tactics and
Right.
that aspect of it.
Yeah, for sure. And the technical side, I was a bruiser. I had to work, I was always quicker than a lot of my competition, so I was able to just run by people, and that was great, but at the same time it doesn't help you develop necessarily because you're not using your feet the same way you would. I wasn't a hold up player. I wasn't a target by any means. I was just runs in behind, and that was something that helped me a lot along the way. But I had to develop, and spending so much time on the ball and spending so much time training with Giddis, that those first 2, 3 months of my time over there really helped me out.
Yeah. Yeah. Speed works until you meet someone faster and then you have nothing, right?
Exactly, exactly. You got to be
uh,
smarter.
so you finished those the second half of the season. You come back to the U.S. At that point, are you thinking trying to play in Sweden and moving up the ladder? Or are you thinking maybe give the U.S. another shot?
Yeah, so at that point, maybe there was one or two kind of like leads or, invites for preseason in the U.S., but the USL was nothing like what it is now. And I felt like, I had a German passport. I felt like that was going to be the best chance for me to move up. So I wanted to stay there, and I did. I think I only came home for maybe 2 weeks before I was back over there, going on trial with the team that had just gotten promoted from Division Two to the first division in Karlstad. And yeah, I went on trial there for a week, had a great week, enjoyed the city. It was a much bigger city. I think Lead Shipping was maybe 20, 30,000. Karlstad was more like 120.
Yeah,
So
big difference.
By Swedish standards, it's a huge metropolitan area. So I was excited to sign with them. I remember going on trial, and then the last thing was a game Saturday afternoon in Karlstad, which was 2 hours from where I was living in Lead Shipping. And I remember the night before the game, I had come back to Lead Shipping for end of year awards party. And you've been to these type of parties. Like, these guys show out, like they're turning up. They have a good
They're
time.
committed
Everybody,
to the party.
they're having a good time. The whole club is there, all the teams and stuff, all the people from the city, and it was a great time. But I had to dip out relatively early so I could get ready for the game the next day. And yeah, I went out there. I scored in that game and ended up getting an offer, and yeah, signed with Karlstad, which was super exciting to make my first step up the ladder.
Yeah, and for those who don't know, kind of the biggest gap maybe in the level of seriousness in football in Sweden is that second to first division. Second division's still kind of not the same requirements and stuff, whereas first division becomes much more serious and everything. So what's your experience then getting into a much more intense environment?
I mean, even at that point, Karlstad being a club that was getting promoted in was still, even though they had more finances than teams of the division that they just came out of, they were small compared to the clubs that were already mainstays in their new level. So there were still a lot of guys on the team that worked. They would wake up at 5 in the morning, 6 in the morning to go work, and then they would be at training by 1:30. And they're looking at you differently because you're on a full contract. You're getting your apartment taken care of. You're eating at the restaurants in the city that they're paying for every day. So I was a little bit naive at that point, thinking oh well, everybody's on this, like everybody's like this, but that's not the case. You're talking about a lot of guys that are from the city, from the area, that grew up in the club, that just happened to be a little bit more talented than the rest. So it was an interesting situation. But I learned a lot. It was more competitive, and the determination to stay in the league was big, which we ended up doing at the end, which was really rewarding feeling.
Yeah, no, it is an interesting thing when you come as a foreigner because it's a much different experience as a foreigner in the league than as a local player in it, and how
Right.
maybe the club takes care of you differently and things like
Right.
that. So it's
Right.
definitely you got to be careful of making good or you need to make sure you make good relationships with the locals if you want to stay on the
Right.
good side.
Right. For sure. For sure.
Uh,
And I tried. I think that's important. Players going over to Europe, to immerse yourself in the culture. A lot of American players go over and, it's easy to just try and stick to your own ways. But I think I made an effort to learn the language, to be a part of the culture and do that. And that served me really well.
100%. So at the end of that year, you're able to stay up. Are
Mhm.
you thinking at all about going back there or looking for a different opportunity? What's going through your mind?
At that point I was pretty happy over there and I thought, I had already moved up once, so why not stick around and try to do it again. Karlstad had offered me a new deal, but I don't know. I just felt like the club wasn't really going in the right direction. There was a lot of problems within the club and the ownership and the management. The top players were not happy with the way that things were being handled, and some of those guys were really close friends of mine. So, talking to them, their advice to me, and they were just like, man, if you've got another deal to go somewhere else, like you should look at going for it, because I mean, it's just not going to go well here. So, luckily I got a good offer to go to Oskarshamn, a small city again, but beautiful, on the water, on the southeast corner, kind of in the middle, right on the water. So yeah, I got the opportunity to go there and took it.
How was that experience?
It was awesome. There's always challenges when you're changing cities and clubs, especially in another country, but was really happy there. Made some incredible friends. I was joined by a guy who was a really close friend of mine, even to this day, that I played with in lead shipping in my first club. He came and signed on, and we were already really close friends, and it was amazing to have him there, because it was, for the first time in my career, I had a little bit of continuity. There were a couple other guys in the team, other foreign guys that I got along well with, and they welcomed me. Great facility, great city, so I really enjoyed myself there.
Yeah, so now you'd been with 2.5 years essentially basically living in Sweden.
Hmm.
Are you missing home? Are you missing family? Or are you pretty focused on playing in Sweden? Kind of what's going
Yeah,
through your mind?
yeah, it was interesting. I missed my family for sure, but I think leaving Dallas and being away from my family at that young age, I was like, it is what it is. I was always in constant contact with them, and I had family in Europe that I would get to see occasionally. So I was pretty focused on what I was doing. So I wasn't opposed to staying. But I'd gone back and forth the last off season with Bob Lilly about joining in Rochester, and I think where I saw where the league was going, and saw the team, what they did going to the final against Red Bull. And I thought, okay, well, if I have a chance to join these guys, they fit my style of play. They're a bunch of grinders who just try to beat people's ass and get after it. So I was like, you know what, that looks like a squad that I could fit into. So yeah, made the decision to come back and ended up in preseason in Rochester, New York. Left Europe behind.
Yeah, what's the to you the biggest difference maybe in the Swedish football compared to American soccer?
I think the mentality is a lot different. The approach to the game is a lot different. I think now in America, there's plenty of people who know what they're talking about from a tactical standpoint. The coaches are plenty qualified at that level now. So I wouldn't say the biggest difference. I would just say the pace and the tempo at which the game is played. I think if you watch the Allsvenskan and the Superettan in Sweden, you'll see that the build up play is a little bit more monotonous side to side. As a target forward, you're constantly moving side to side, checking in. You're looking to find the ball. But in the U.S., you can end up in an absolute track meet. You're playing against some insane athletes. Guys like Damian Lowe come to mind. Aaron Long, like these guys they're machines, and they're great with their feet. So I think it's more of a hybrid over here. And like I said, the player mentality, for the most part, I remember in Sweden, you'd get a yellow card. The Swedish players anyway would get yellow cards for swear words. I would get away with it because I was American and I would be swearing in English, and the refs might have thought I was like just a little bit out of my mind. But you go on the field here, and that's not quite the case. So
Yeah, they some differences, some the same, right? I think
yeah.
I think too the a difference that I've experienced somewhat is in the US, like you have some diehard fans, but in Europe it seems like they're also very comfortable with coming up to you if they see you out and just
Yeah.
like telling you basically what they think the team, like go tell the coach basically this is what
Oh,
you
for
need to
sure.
do instead. And
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
no
Yeah.
no no that's where they don't lack confidence in those
No.
moments.
No, they'll be shy until the right moment. And then I even there was a journalist in Oscar Shum who I still even to this day can't stand this guy. And I just remember him dogging me all season. Just I would have if I played well, find the mistakes. If I didn't play well, just pile it on. And the stuff this guy would say just with so much confidence. I mean, it's still to this day, I came across some serious jackasses in the media for the most part, everyone's great, but there's always a couple, and this guy ranks up there. I still can't get over this guy. Yeah, no problem. Up at a bar, whatever, he'll walk right up to you and tell you exactly what he's thinking or what he's going to write the next day. So,
I had a somebody wait outside of our locker room after a loss 1-0. And obviously, like it was a tough game, tight result, and probably not the time to want to talk about the game right after with just a random
mhm.
person. And he pulled out a pen and paper and started drawing like what he thought I should have done on set pieces because he was convinced that's the reason we lost the game. And I didn't
That
want to be
guy,
rude, but I was like, this is not the time.
yeah, guy, send me an email, man.
So you
Unbelievable.
get back to the U.S. How's your first year? How does that go in Rochester?
It was awesome, man. It was awesome. I was in a place where the team was really really talented. You see some quality players that are scattered across the league now that are incredible players. And yeah, I was really happy. I think the best part was the fact that my friends and family got to be more involved in my career. Games weren't on at 3 a.m. They were on at 7 o'clock on Saturday. So that was probably the biggest change. And I was fortunate to score a boatload of goals there, and we had a really good team. We made a good run. We lost. I think we lost in the conference semifinals away to Louisville 1-0, and we had our chances. We definitely controlled the game in the first half against, and everyone knows what a quality club and team Louisville
Hmm.
was and is. So yeah, that was a pretty bitter the way it ended. But the first year was just, the way that it all came closing was really bizarre. The club ends up folding financial reasons. They built a great stadium and the city didn't love it, the location or whatever. There was a lot of different problems, the owners and the club. I had an option and they told me right after the season, they said, you're not going anywhere. I had a great year and probably tripled my worth from a market perspective, and they were like, nah, man, you're making what's on that paper. Like you're sticking around. You led the team in goals. I can't justify to the owners letting you just go. So yeah, I was getting ready to stay there and come back for a second season, and then we get a text one morning, 2 or 3 weeks after the season ends, that the club is gonna fold, and then just all hell breaks loose. And the clubs that were coming after me at that point and finding it difficult with Rochester's resistance, or they saw I was a free agent, and that was a quick turnaround. I made a fast decision to come to Tampa. That was a place that made me a great offer, and it's hard to say no. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think, as a younger player, it's easy to kind of go to a different club, new environment every year because you're constantly kind of chasing that upward movement, and so you're willing
Mhm.
to do that. As you get older in the career, I think stability and familiarity is an important aspect to a lot of people want. So
Mhm.
what's that mentally like to kind of, you're thinking to yourself, all right, I'm coming back for the first time in my professional career to the same club. I finally
Mhm.
know kind of the style of play, the fans, the city, and then to
Yep.
have that all kind of ripped out, I'm sure was frustrating.
Oh, for sure. And it's you hit it 100% on the head. That's, I was definitely looking for a situation where I could have a little bit more familiarity. I think, you can always find traction in your first season if it's the right fit, but when there's always the sophomore slump people look at, but for the most part, it's nice to know what you're going in for. Um, Yeah, so that was a little bit disappointing, but at the same time, I was my dad, and I remember talking to him. He was like, "You've already done this a million times. You've made mistakes. You've made good decisions. You know what to do. So just go ahead and keep your experiences handy as you go through it." So that even though I was a little bit disappointed to be leaving, at the same time, I was just really stoked and excited to head to Florida and get out of the snow.
Yeah, you're finally back to my neck of the woods.
That's
Finally
right.
back to an enjoyable preseason
Yep.
location.
Yep. That's right.
What's your experience living in Florida, especially coming from Texas?
Yeah, no, I always thought Florida was just Florida man, like insane people with super hot weather, and yeah, no, it was great. The club it's an incredible club, a great place to play. The fans are top drawer, a lot of talent in the team. So I was really really happy to be here. Preseason was fantastic, and I hit the ground running. We had some preseason games. I think I scored 4 goals that preseason, and I was really looking forward to the year. So it was off to a great start. I picked up. I remember we were playing the Suncoast Invitational tournament that the Rowdies have every year. It's a handful of MLS clubs, and the Rowdies play, and it went great. I was buzzing afterwards. I remember we played Philly, and the next day, Sunday, I'm just chilling at the apartment, walking around, whatever, watching TV. I get up to go get a coffee, and I take a step, and I feel my foot, and all of a sudden it's just throbbing. It was pain. I didn't have an injury after the game. I was
Oh
totally fine.
wow.
I'd been awake for 6 hours, like no issues. So I'm thinking to myself, all right, like what's going on? Talk to the trainers. All right, we'll check you out tomorrow morning. So go in, and they can't really find anything wrong, but I'm in a ton of pain. I tried to get my cleat on for training. I couldn't even get it on. So
Wow.
uh, I get a scan. Turns out, there's nothing there. They don't see anything. There's just some inflammation. They think, okay, maybe a muscle tendon in the foot, just got rubbed the wrong way. It's going to take a couple days, whatever. By the following Wednesday, I was back in training. I think the only thing I missed was the inter squad scrimmage that we had that weekend. So I missed a couple days of training. I'm on the bike for the scrimmage. I didn't play. But back in training by Wednesday, which coincidentally that off day, that Wednesday morning I went in for training was the day I met my fiance,
Oh wow.
walking to the practice field with the trainer Andrew. Met my fiance. She was standing on the corner there with her dog getting ready to go for a run at like 9:30, and I bumped into her. I nudged Andrew. I said, "Hey, watch this, man." Walk up, completely ignore her, go straight for the dog.
Uh-huh. Number
Right?
one
Yeah.
rule.
Hey, how's it going? Number one rule. Yeah, straight for the dog. Dog's super Peyton. She's all sweet, and then yeah, couple words with Kelly, and then I'm off to train. But yeah, so came back, ended up not getting to start the opening game. They just thought, okay, we're gonna rest you, whatever. And we won 4-2. Like I came in, made my debut as a sub, but we won 4-2. We got off to a good start, and that kind of put me behind the 8 ball. And it kind of continued like that until it finally came back around, and I started getting some more chances. But unfortunately, by that time it had already gone from, first 6, 7 games going really well to a big dip, and I was getting plugged in, but just the team wasn't playing well. It wasn't going well. I'm not the type of player that creates a bunch of my own chances. I rely
Hmm.
heavily on the talented players around me for service, through balls, crosses, that kind of thing.
Right.
And we were just out of sorts. So unfortunately, Stu Campbell, the coach assigned me, he gets let go. Neil gets put in charge, and Neil had faith in me, played me 3, 4, 5 games, but things just weren't going well. We were still losing games that we shouldn't have lost and underperforming. So that was it. It goes that quick. Was unable to find the back of the net like I did in preseason, which was extremely frustrating and disappointing. But that was it, man. And then it doesn't come back around. That's the nature of professional sports. Sometimes you don't get another crack at it, and you just gotta keep moving forward.
Yeah. So as a striker, I think it's a unique thing because no matter if you have overall a good game, but you miss your shots, it's a bad game.
Right,
That's how people are looking at it. Like your job is to score. So if you don't score, it's not a good game. So
right,
if you're underperforming in that aspect, mentally that starts to beat up on you.
I'm
Right.
sure that doesn't help increase the chance of you scoring the next one.
Right.
Talk a little bit about that, just that mental aspect and how you've learned through your career to kind of stay more even keeled throughout
Hmm.
dips or high moments.
Yeah, I think that was one thing that I did well from a young age. I'm a super emotional player. I always play with my heart on my sleeve. And I had some, like I said, great coaches and mentors that kind of said, look, you miss one, you got to forget it, go to the next one. And I was able to do that. I think what was even more difficult was I was always confident that I could score. I always felt like, if I get a chance, I'll bury it, whether I missed one 20 seconds beforehand or not. I always felt like I would score. I think when you get into the higher levels and you're playing in the professional at the pro game, it's what else are you doing? Because there's plenty of forwards who can score. Yeah, it's a hard position to find players that can score consistently, but there's if you're finding the back of the net, it's great. But what are you doing when you're not? And I was always, like you said, a worker. Always tried to contribute in other ways as well, help create uncomfortable situations for defenders. Try and create space for the other talented guys around me. So I think it's big to just keep your head, realize, look, I'm good at this. I've done this plenty of times. And I'll get the next one. But until the next chance comes, what am I going to do that's going to positively impact the team? And I think that's important. And young players, you're not always going to score. Watch the best players in the world, they miss chances. It happens. It's part of the game. But what you need to be thinking of is, all right, if I'm missing a chance or two here and there, what else am I doing? And I always try to give that advice to especially young attacking players is what else can you offer?
I like that. Yeah, it's coaches will find it a lot harder to put you on the bench if you're finding different ways to contribute and help the team.
That's right. That's right.
So the time with Tampa kind of comes to a close.
Hmm.
You get moved. Talk about that process, what it's like to switch teams, all of that.
Oh yeah. So that was my first first like desire to go on loan anywhere. I got the chance to move to Reno. It took a lot longer than I wanted. There were a lot of other scenarios that looked like they were going to pan out over that time, but didn't for one reason or another. So, I ended up getting a shot to go to Reno. I think I only had 5, 6, 7 games left in the season. And I was talking to my agent, what do you think I should do? And he's like, man, just go ahead, get out of there. So made the move, and it was a good decision. It was fun. Reno, young American coach in Ian. Great coaching staff with Chris and Casey there, and some talented players too, and a chance to play in the Western Conference where, on the Eastern Conference you're watching and you're like seeing 1-0, 2-1, unless Red Bull 2 was playing or something like that, and you see like 6-1 or 6-4 or something like that. But outside of that, and then you're looking over at the Western Conference and you're seeing 5-3, 4-4, and I'm like, oh, all right. Yeah, I'll go over there. It looks like
Striker's dream,
there's
yeah.
some chances. There's some chances to be had over there. So went for it, and it was awesome. It was a great experience. I scored the goal that helped us clinch the playoffs. The team had done a lot of the hard work, obviously, before I got there. But the opportunity to clinch the playoffs with a game left away in Portland, and I scored that goal, and we were set to go to the playoffs. I was excited. Another chance to go in with a team that had a chance to make it out of the conference. And we get to Salt Lake. We're going to play away RSL. Kelly and her mom fly in from Florida, and I get a call. I'm about to go pick up Kelly from the airport. I'm at the hotel. I've got the rental car. I'm about to go pick her up from the airport. I get a call from Chris Malinat, the assistant coach, buddy of mine, and he's like, hey man, I need you to come up to Ian's room really quick. I'm like, all right, well, all that I know is that this is not good. Like, he's not bringing me up here to tell me how great I've been doing. Okay, that's not how this works. So I go up there, and I'm sitting there with Willie Seymour, who's on loan from FC Cincinnati, and they tell us that the league was contacted and that we did not some rule about how we weren't on the team for long enough, or we didn't play enough games in the regular season to be able to play the next day in the opening round of the playoffs, which is a complete load of shit. Like, that doesn't make any sense to anybody.
Yeah.
Like, I was on loan, I was brought in before the freeze, I played before the freeze, like, and what happened is, like, these guys said, oh well, we got a call. So
It's ridiculous.
who knows? I have my suspicions. I'm not going to air any dirty laundry on who I think it was, but I have my suspicions. So anyway, that was a great way to pick up Kelly and her mom from the airport. Hey, thanks for
You're in a
flying.
great mood.
Oh, fuming. They just traveled like 9 hours to get to Salt Lake
Oh,
City and watch the game. And yeah, I was watching from the stands. But luckily the team ended up winning. Like I said, disappointed to not play, but the team ended up winning. And yeah, once the playoffs ended, I think we got eliminated the next round. Then I was on my way back to Florida.
yeah. No, that is. I remember when that happened and being in shock from like the post and all, and just
Yeah,
not understanding how something like that can happen.
no sense.
I think in sports there's enough frustrating things to deal with on the field that to have something like that off the field added to it is just a very difficult situation to overcome, especially after kind of the year that you had of you know having the injury, not finding the
Yeah,
back of the net, going on loan already. I'm sure
yeah.
very just mentally taxing year.
hmm Absolutely, man. Definitely a disappointing way to end it, but you learn from it and you just try to take on board what you can because you're not the only one who's had a hard hand dealt to them in professional soccer, and you just got to try and move on.
So what's your move after that? Are you thinking possibly going back to Reno, or are you thinking looking somewhere else?
Yeah, yeah, no, I liked Reno a lot. Like I said, I thought, and the staff, they're still there now. Reno has its own shortcomings as a club, just like everybody else. But one thing I knew was that I would improve playing for them, and I would enjoy playing for them. So I was definitely interested to come back. But at the end of the day, there's a lot of reasons why stuff doesn't work out. It didn't end up working out. So, I looked, there were a couple other options within the league, but, when you're a forward who scores 2 goals in an entire year, you're not going to be like, people aren't going to be banging down your door to try and sign you, and
Yeah.
that's just the reality of it. I've been on both sides. So that was the scenario, but I was really fortunate that the Cosmos, Joe Barone and Carlos Mendez, they liked me. The guys that I played with during my time in Tampa, like Seba and Leo and Hunter, who were really, really Cosmos guys, they helped me out a lot, put in a good word for me, and I ended up signing there on a good deal to go be a part of that club. And I was stoked. I was really excited to go and get up to New York and great espresso at the training facility.
Yeah, I saw a comment
Yep,
about the
yep.
espresso. What's
Yeah,
that
no, no,
story?
no. The Italians know. The Italians know. I've drank a lot of coffee. The footy and coffee was perfect for me because I'm big on it. Sweden, you know how it is up there in Scandinavia. The coffee is 6 cups a day in a
At
blink.
least,
You don't
yeah.
even know. It's you're like sleeping sitting up straight. You don't even know. But the Italians, they're like, oh yeah, we just take another espresso, no problem. So Danny Sitella, Manuel Sambroni, these guys, the Barone brothers, these guys, yeah, my boy Steve. We had a couple of really nice trips to God, what was it called? Flux Coffee. We had a
Well,
great day over at Flux
shout out
Coffee.
shout
Yeah,
out to
shout out
Flux.
Flux Coffee. Yep, Steve Hamlin. So yeah, no, great coffee experience, but great experience. From a soccer perspective, enjoyed living in New York. I remember the first weekend I was there, Kelly came up and hotel in the city, get to experience it there. That was a really good time. But it just like everything else, it was crazy how quick it turned around, and I was on my way to Memphis. Within six weeks of being there.
Jeez.
Yeah, so it went quick.
Jeez. Yeah, so I think that's got to be a big difference going to New York and playing from living in a cabin in Sweden to
Yeah,
New York
yeah,
City.
yeah,
Um,
yeah, crazy.
New York Cosmos is also, I mean, just a historic club. So I'm sure just that experience of walk into the locker room that, so many great players are hanging on the walls there, I'm sure, and
Yeah.
all is a cool memory in your career.
I mean, man, it's just you can feel it when you're there. People talk about it. A lot of the people that are at the club have been there through all those players that have come and gone. We had Ansi was there, absolute legend. Captain his country at the Euros, just peach of a left foot. I would beg him after training, Ansi, come on, man, serve a few balls for me, man, please. And he would always do it. He would always do it. We called him Godiva because the balls he'd serve in were like Godiva chocolate. They were perfect every time. So yeah, no, that was awesome. And the people there, I mean, from the equipment manager Artie to the players, the guys in the locker room, the coaches, was, yeah, I enjoyed it a lot.
Yeah, and then you head to Memphis, which for those who don't really know, Memphis is actually a really big soccer community.
Yeah.
Crazy fans when the U.S. national team plays there. They get a crazy amount of fans and everything. What's your experience playing in Memphis?
I mean, I loved being there. I mean, that city, you would have thought that they've had a club there for the last 15 years. You know, they show out. It's a party every game, fun atmosphere. The city loves the team, super supportive, always everywhere you go. You know, 901 FC guys, everybody knows you, everybody's supporting you. So it was an awesome place to live, and you know, another place where there were some really cool guys in the locker room. You know, it was funny. I was living in an apartment by myself, and I get a call from Mo Queen, and he's like, "Listen, man, I know you're in the apartment by yourself. You got your place, but you know, we've got a chance to really like strengthen the team. We've got a kid on loan from Atlanta. He's quality, and I just think it would be a really good situation for him. He's only 19, turning 20. I would love for him to live with you. Like, what do you think?" And I thought about it. I'm like, you know, I kind of want to be by myself. You know, I'm 28 years old.
Yeah.
I don't want to be sharing my space anymore. You know, that was fine when I was younger, but not now. And then, you know, thought about it, and I was like, all right, you know, whatever. Let's go for it. So this kid shows up, pulls up in his Benz, drove from Atlanta, just an absolute goofball. And yeah, it turned out to be one of my closest friends, Lagos. And yeah, funny to live with someone who's 8 years younger than you. But also
Jeez.
just incredible kid, incredible talent. He's in Phoenix now. But it's a shame that the season got cut short, got put on pause, because he got off to a good start. He's gonna be someone that's fun for people to watch. But yeah, no, Lagos showed up, and I loved my time in Memphis.
Yeah, so you get to the end of the season in Memphis, and then talk through how you come to make the decision you did regarding football.
Yeah, I think it was probably like 2 months, and I'd thought about it over the off season before. You know, Kelly and I, we got this incredible house in St. Pete. You know, I'd been, just like if you've been watching, you know, I've been gone from 17 on, and, you know, I was going to turn 30 at the end of the year. And I was, you know, I loved playing. I loved training every day. But, you know, priorities change, things change in your life where you start to think, okay, you know, I could keep doing this. It's not a question of like losing the fire for it, but it's a question of, you know, what are your goals? So I kind of decided at that point, all right, I think it's the right time for me to transition and step away. I don't think I ever could have envisioned the send off that I got from the club and from the city, and just, you know, looking back on it, you forget how much time and all the places you've been and all that stuff. It just feels like it was a dream. It goes by like that. But then you're sitting there, and there's, you know, the whole stadium is going crazy. There's huge banners with your number, and people want to see you and talk to you, and you're just like, you know, okay, this is my last go. I was really lucky the way it all ended. And I remember walking off the field. I stayed out. I must have been out for like 35, 40 minutes after the game. I wanted to take pictures with everybody I could, sign everything I could, really take it all in. Kelly had flown in, a bunch of my friends and family were there. And I walk into the locker room, and the locker room's packed. I was one of the last ones in, and it's packed. You know, the coaching staff, all the players, everybody's in. Front office, I mean, there's standing room only, and everyone's sitting in their lockers, and Tim Howard's standing there. And I walk in and sit down, and they start talking about the season. Mo Queen starts talking about the season and the club's ambitions for the following year and stuff. And then he looks over at me, and he's like, Joch, I just want to thank you for what you've done for the club, for the city, what you've meant, what you've brought every day. And, you know, we all have such big admiration, respect for what you've done as a player. And, you know, you always have a home here, and we just want to congratulate you on your retirement. He gives me a hug. Tim Howard steps up, and obviously Tim is dressed to the absolute T. This man's got style. He's the sick suit, you know, the fresh shoes and stuff. And he starts talking. And he looks at me and he starts echoing Tim a little bit, and I'm sitting here, I'm like, oh, this is fucking Tim Howard, like,
Surreal, yeah.
yeah, you're just like, this is incredible. And he turns around in the kit man. June throws a ball over the crowd behind him. Tim catches it. He's like, we're all going to sign this ball, man. It's for you. We just can't tell you how much we appreciate your time here and all stuff. I mean, it was about as class of a send off as it gets. So
Wow.
I feel really fortunate. I'll cherish that memory my whole life.
Absolutely. Especially, if you had been a 7-year career at that club,
Right.
it makes sense. But for them to even do that after one season is incredible.
Right. Yeah. Right. 100%. Couldn't agree more, man.
You end up retiring, and that was last fall. How hard has it been to give it up? How hard was it watching preseason? I think that's, in the off season, it's easy to be retired because you don't have to work out the same as everyone else, just grinding for nothing. But then you start seeing the photos of preseason and the boys getting back together. Has it been difficult for you, or what's your experience so far?
I think when the right time comes, you're always gonna miss it. Like I miss it all the time. But I don't miss it from the standpoint of fuck, like I wish I was there. It doesn't. I think if I wanted anything more, I would have been greedy. I think a lot of players would have been extremely happy to have as long of a career and play in as many places as I have. I was very lucky and fortunate to do that. So, I don't have like any sort of fear or feelings of missing out on anything. I'm definitely in a place where, yeah, I watch it and it's a little bit, you're like, I remember that, but you're also not missing throwing up during the session in preseason, running the beep test, doing all that stuff. You're just like, hey boys, have a great time out there. Enjoy yourselves. Enjoy the runs, enjoy the lifts, enjoy the 5:30 a.m. wake up and all that stuff. My life is a little bit different. I think it's important when you retire, and I'm sure you do this as well, as you work out, you train, you're on the field. It's important not to lose that. I think people that quit and just really quit and just hang it up and they're like, I don't want to be on the field. That was never going to be me. So soccer is still a big part of my life, but yeah, I think right now I get my excitement, my joy comes from seeing my friends play, watching them perform, seeing the players that, we represent at the agency play and do well and succeed and help them in their careers is really fun for me. And then obviously just getting to stay and be a part of what's going on in American soccer, COVID-19 aside, it's really cool. And it's fun to be a part of. And I'm in touch with all the guys, all the people that I made contact, coaches, players. Talking to a coach today that I played against. We're texting each other. He's coaching a big club, and I'm shooting the shit with him because we played against each other. Whatever. It's still fun to be a part of the game. And for Kelly and I, soccer is a huge part of our life. She coaches. I try to coach, and like I said, we both play. So
yeah, you mentioned. Talking about a little bit about your agency. I think it's maybe a little bit different route than others do to stay involved in or around the sport. But just kind of update us on what you're doing in regards to that.
Yeah, I do need to take a sidebar and say that Kelly did right for me to drink up. So I do have the full green light to drink as many beers on this podcast as I want, just to put that out there.
Then you have to. You gotta listen to it.
Yeah, gotta do it. Yeah, no. The agency's been awesome. I think, PJ represented me the last 3 years of my career. He became a friend, and he was there for me. When things were going great, things weren't going great, he was always there. He helped me out a lot, and now he's a friend and he's a mentor. He's obviously very talented, and he's the reason why players sign with Highland Sports is because of him. The way that he goes about his business and the way that people around the league and in American soccer respect how he operates. So that was the reason I signed with him in the first place. And, it's been really, really great to work with this guy. Obviously it was a steep learning curve. I think it wasn't something I planned on doing. I usually would fly and have my car shipped wherever I was going. Cause I made up my mind after playing in Sweden, anything over 4 hours on a bus, I was out. in a car, I'm out. I'm flying. I'll meet you there. You want to drive 8 hours? Knock yourself out. I'll meet you there. I'll be at the airport. You pick me up. But I adopted a dog. This little Memphis mutt off the streets in Memphis, and he definitely wasn't going on the plane. TSA wasn't going to let this nut job through, so I was like, all right, I got to drive him home. So we had about 13 hours drive from Memphis down to Florida, and I called PJ. I left the next day, Saturday night, night out with the boys, and then Sunday driving home. And I'm talking to PJ, and I was like, PJ, I know we've never talked about this, but representing players and working with you, that's something I've thought about, that that would be really, really cool. And he was like, yeah, I was thinking the same thing, man. I didn't want to say anything. I didn't say anything because I wanted to enjoy the moments I was having with soccer, and he wanted to let me enjoy that as well. But the next day we were talking about it, and it just went from there. He gave me the green light. We were in it, and yeah, it's been awesome, man. What a cool way to stay in the game and make an impact and help players on their way.
Yeah, and I think you especially have just had so many different experiences. I mean, you've seen almost every type of thing happen with the club.
Right.
So
Right.
I think that also is a benefit to any player that signs with you, and your understanding of what they're going through and all of that, because you yourself experienced a lot of it through your career. What as an agent, do you think is kind of what's the biggest reward that you see out of it yourself through soccer? How does it connect you the most?
I think my favorite part about it is just, talking to players every day, being a part of what they're going through. Like you said, I understand whether it's great and they're having the time of their lives, they're having problems. A lot of times, and this as a player, on the field, off the field, problems go hand in hand. Sometimes, things can be going great on the field and everything off the field's terrific, but the second things take a dip, now off the field, this and this starts to become a red flag in your mentality or whatever's going on. I've been through all that stuff. I know what it's like to deal with a difficult manager. I know what it's like when you're stuck making sub appearances. I know what it's like when you're starting and things are going well, what you need to do to maintain all those different things that help me, that I think are kind of second nature anyway. And the fact that I've been in their shoes so recently, I think makes a big difference. I know the landscape, like you said, I've been a lot of different places. I know the landscape and the stuff that they're going through right now. And I think the fact that I was able to hit the ground running so quick just set me up to continue to be in that position. And I never took a break from the game, in a sense. I went straight from having my boots on to making phone calls and sending emails and doing all that stuff. So yeah, I'm enjoying that stuff, and I think I get a lot out of it, and hopefully the guys that I work with get a lot out of it as well.
You said you're also doing some coaching?
Yeah, unfortunately I haven't been able to get my own team or anything like that. From a time constraint issue, it's just,
Right.
it would be too much at this point. But, I try to do individual sessions. I've just joined up with this club in St. Pete called the Aztecs. It's a grassroots soccer club that these guys are giving me the opportunity to be a part of the board and help really steer the direction of the club. And I'm seeing this as an opportunity to really give back to the game. This is something where, as a community, St. Pete is super vibrant from a soccer standpoint. The Rowdies are here. Everybody loves the Rowdies, but outside of that, everybody loves the game. So yeah, I think that's going to be a big thing for me going forward. And like you said before, I never got to live anywhere for more than a year and some months, some change. Is now I get the opportunity to be somewhere and try to build something, and kind of use the career I've had on kind of in that way, kind of use those connections and what I've got going for me to help build something here. So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, and rumor has it, if they need your fill of watching you score some goals, you're still playing a little with the Aztecs.
Oh, I'm out there, baby. No doubt about it. It's a great way to get to play with some talented players. We've got some good guys in the group, USF players, guys from all over. There's talent, so it's fun to play with them. We've only had one game, but it was a good time.
What was the experience the first time playing now in so many years where there's no real stress? This isn't your career.
Mhm.
This isn't what you're worried about. I'm sure it
Mhm.
was a different experience. What was that like?
So I started playing straight away when I came over here, like proper Sunday league with Rowdiest FC, which is in St. Pete as well. And it's just a great group of guys, and I think that was a pretty easy transition for me to get out on the field with them, and then throwing back beers on the sideline afterwards, and just enjoy myself. I think one thing that you miss the most when you quit, and I'm sure you felt that, but at the same time now you've got your own locker rooms to look after. Is you miss the boys, you miss the lads. That's the biggest thing. You want to be around the guys and have the banter. Someone who will remain nameless asked me what I rate my banter. I'm not going to overrate myself here. I think it's a solid 8.5 out of 10. Jack Blake might not agree, but his banter is nowhere near that score, unfortunately for him. So
I have a feeling that he is partly biased of thinking because he says it with, a British accent that it sounds
100%.
cheekier and it's proper banter and all than an American.
It covers up the lack of substance with a little bit of dressing, and that's where he thinks that comes in. But unfortunately for him, I've known him long enough now where I can cut right through that, see right through it. So
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. I think it's an unfair advantage for him to have the accent and then comment on your banter. It's
yeah,
not level playing field here.
no, not at all, not at all. But it's okay. He digs plenty of holes for himself. It's average. So let's see. Hold on. Let's see. Come on. You know who? Oh, that's true. Louis has fantastic banter. You can't doubt it. Louis, forward Madison, he's got great banter. That's true. He lights up a locker room when he walks in with his big egg head. He's got class banter.
But you're saying 8.5 for yourself?
I'll give myself an 8.5. Obviously, there's a little curve in there. Some people might want to say that it's better, but for the most part, I'll go level 8.5.
Now, what about someone like JC Mack? Where's his banter?
Oh, JC Max banter is, I mean, the thing about JC and people that don't know JC, when you first meet this guy, you are thinking that he is completely off it. He is just an absolute lunatic. I lived with this guy. I slept 8 feet away from him for months. Once I got to know JC, this guy's banter is outrageous. It's class. Eric Leonard says it's a 0. When JC wakes up, he's in New Zealand. When he wakes up and sees this, he's going to have it out. We're going to get a whole different session with JC trying to get Eric Leonard on an Instagram Live.
Oh, gosh. Yeah, I'll never forget the first day I met JC. He's like going around talking about getting buckets, and just.
It's all that matters, get buckets. Dude, I would score goals throughout my career. I haven't seen JC for years and years, but we always stay in contact. And I would score a goal. It would be the middle of the night his time. I would go to bed. I would wake up the next morning, and I would just have a text that says, "It will always and forever be about buckets, period." That's it. That's it. That's it. I mean, just an absolute legend. What a baller.
Incredible.
Yeah.
No, I like, though, that you talked about missing, like, the locker room and everything, because
Yeah.
I was actually saying, we were talking to another guy who had just retired, and he had said that was the, a big thing he missed as well. And, for me now as a coach, obviously it changes in the locker room a little bit. You can't.
Nobody's going to banter you the same way anymore, man.
No, the banter stopped so much.
Yep.
Now they just sit quietly looking at me, and I'm like,
Yep.
Have some reaction. Come on.
Lock it up. Come on, guys, loosen up. No way. I'm not saying anything that's going to hurt my chances of being in the team Saturday. Smart guys.
Louis said Eric might be on the negative for banter, and I would say that's pretty fair.
Honestly, Eric, I love you, man, but Louis not far off there. I would give Eric like a solid 2. He's the one who chimes in every once in a while with something dynamite, but outside of that, we're not looking at anything too overwhelming. Yeah, no.
I don't know if you can put solid and 2 in the same sentence.
Solid 2. He goes fair. Love that.
He can't deny it. What you've obviously scored a lot of goals through your career. Does one kind of stick out as your favorite?
Ooh, that's a good one. One of my favorites, I don't know if it's the favorite, one of my favorites is away to Louisville. That goal was we ended up losing the game 2-1, but like I said, I have tremendous respect for Louisville. I always hated them. Hated playing against them. Just talented players, kept it tight. Chances were at a premium. So I was able to score against them away at Slugger Field, which is, people that have been there and seen that bit, was not an easy place to play. Now, of course, they're opening up their pretty top class new facility,
Yeah,
but
looks nice.
yeah, it's a dream. It's going to be a dream for guys to play there. I think away to Cincinnati is up there. That was a great game, and I was really proud to score that goal. So yeah, those two are up there. And then I think probably the only other one that would compete would be in Oskarshamn. We were fighting. We were in a relegation battle that we should have never been in, and I came on as a sub 70th minute and ended up scoring in the 92nd minute. And then the following weekend, the same thing happened. I came on as a sub 70th minute and scored in the 91st, and we ended up clearing the relegation zone by 2 points.
Oh, wow.
So those two goals I'll never forget, coming into the training facility the next day, and the cafeteria lady, she's crying. She hugs me, and she was just, I couldn't understand everything she was talking so fast, but she was just really happy. It meant that the club was going to stay up. And everybody's jobs were safe, and that really meant a lot. So
Good. I like that. I like that answer. They're good.
Thanks,
Good
man.
answers. You've played in a lot of different stadiums. It's kind of a two-part question. One, what's your favorite stadium that you've played in? And then two, what's the favorite atmosphere?
That's tough. It kind of puts me on the spot, because my heart is obviously divided between a couple of my favorite destinations. I think you can't beat Al Lang is amazing. I think Toyota Stadium in Dallas that was one of the first big ones that I ever got to play in, and I loved it there. But atmosphere is Memphis, man. What a place to play. The fans are just absolutely going at it for 90 minutes. Doesn't matter what the score is. They're going crazy. One or two of the best capos in the league for sure, and really great atmosphere to play in. So yeah, those would be it.
Did you ever put a ball into the water at Al Lang?
No, I didn't. I've definitely come close. One or two bounces either direction could have done it, but fortunately for me, and fortunately for Bentley, who was usually on the end of going to track down those shots. I think if anybody was putting balls in the water, you'd have to probably look at Leon Taylor was a prime suspect for one or two balls in the water, and maybe, I don't know. Nanchoff thinks he's got the sweetest left peg in the United States, which is somewhat true, but maybe one or two of those free kicks that he was practicing after training made their way to the water. I don't know.
You couldn't comment on it.
No. I can't say for sure, but there's a possibility.
You kind of covered it, but you were talking about the left peg, and you have the guy from Cosmos as well. Who is your number one?
Yeah, Ansi had a peach of a left foot. I think he's probably got the nicest. I don't want to speak because I didn't really go too deep into it. Nano's was up there. Nano has a good left foot. I'm sure he's blessing the players at Akron with a little bit of this, a little bit of that, some free kicks during the session and bopping it. He's got a pretty sweet left foot. Aiden Quinn has a great left foot. I never actually played with Aiden, not since college, but he's got a decent left peg, not the best, certainly not the best, but decent. We'll give it to Ansi with the best left peg. Nano close second, and Aiden's hovering somewhere at that 4 or 5 zone.
Okay.
Yep.
You got fair rankings.
Yep. I'm firm, but I'm fair. Can't say I gotta evaluate accurately.
We've been calling this time on the podcast, kind of calling it separation season.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time where players are fully on their own, essentially, on how they're going to develop and focusing mainly just on themselves and their individual skill set, since you're not training with the team. As an agent, what are you doing to try to help facilitate your players' growth and development during this time?
I mean, when I talk to guys, I want to hear about their routines. I think for the most part, clubs are doing a really good job of keeping guys engaged. You know, they've got a packed schedule. I mean, yeah, they're not going into the facility, but it's four or five times a week. They're doing Zoom workouts. The guys know what they have to do. Um, I think for me, it's just important to be supportive because, you know, when you miss the game, especially guys who have never been injured before, they've never had long layoffs, they've never been this long without being around the club. It can be tough, and I totally understand that. So just being there for guys, you know, trying to facilitate some mental growth is important. Just making sure guys are staying sharp, staying positive, because it's just like with anything, not just in soccer, but with anything. You know, some people are going to come out of the quarantine in a better shape than when it started, and some people are going to be dropped off. You know, it's a matter of which group you want to fall into. So I just try to urge guys to just stay positive, try to enjoy themselves. You know, take the opportunity to spend time with their family. They're obviously stuck with them for the most part anyway, so they have to. But you know, it's not something that happens all the time, especially when you're moving around a lot in your career. So I think just try to help guys with whatever it is that they're going through in the moment. I'm there for. And from a physical, you know, I won't sign a player that wouldn't be able to keep themselves in good shape in a situation like this anyway. I wouldn't have been repping them in the first place. You know, potential guys that I'm signing, I ask them, what's your routine in the quarantine? You know, I have phone calls with potential clients, and, you know, we're talking to each other about what it would be like to work together. One thing I ask is like, what are you doing every day? And if they hit me with, you know, man, I'm playing some Xbox, I'm hanging out, you know, I work out 3 times a week, you know, that tells me one thing. If they're like, you know what, dude, I'm crushing 2-a-days because I just can't wait to get back, then that tells me something totally different. So yeah.
Yeah. We Fricky was on the show earlier this week, and he was talking about how he had finally now had time to go back and really watch games, not just quickly, okay, how did the game go 2 days ago and looking forward to the next game, but actually go back and really break down areas that he can grow and improve on in individual defending and situations. So I think there's so many different opportunities. You know, it's not just one thing that players can be doing. There's so many opportunities right now for players to really grow and develop in times, you know, that you usually don't have this type of time to do.
Absolutely.
I'll end with this final question, unless you have anything to add after it. Looking back on your career, obviously you've had a long career. You've played a lot of different places. If you could go back to kind of before it all started, back in club soccer, 15 years old, what's the main advice you would give yourself?
Oof. I don't know, man. I think it would probably, a lot of the advice that helped me throughout my career came from my dad, and he was always there to give it at the right time. I think if I could go back to the start, I would just say, just believe in yourself. I think it's easy to be insecure about your abilities, especially when you step into a situation where you've got a lot of talented and skilled players around you. But at the end of the day, everybody started somewhere. Everybody's coming from the beginning. So it's not about, you know, where that was or who you were at that moment, but it's about who you are then. So, you know, just push on. I think that would be the one thing. Luckily, I had someone to give me that advice along the way anyway, but I would probably give it to myself from the start.
Yeah, as my mom always says, you know, all of us can even use a spoon properly without being taught. So
yeah, hey, 100. Yeah, nice. Okay, I like that one. Yeah, that's
so
right. It's never easy.
it's never easy, but
No, it's never
we're all in
easy.
the same starting spot. I appreciate it, man. I really appreciate you taking the time to share your advice, share your story. I think it's one that just shows the grinding mentality that you were willing to give, and it allowed you to have a very successful career in the long run. So I appreciate you sharing that with everyone.
Dude, no problem, man. I appreciate you having me, dude. It was fun. It was good to see you. Good to catch up. I'm glad everything's going well over there. Keep that Viking beard and that ponytail rocking. Hey, when's this coming off again on the side? That's the one we want to see. With the jacket, that's what I want to see.
I'm waiting for it too, but the hairdresser is, you know.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
I've been waiting.
I don't have to worry about that.
Cut. Dude,
yeah,
I've been waiting. So soon it'll be.
We're all looking forward to it. Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
I appreciate it, man. Take care.
All right. Also, little shout out to Afro Man Jax. That's our guy right there. He's been dropping some nice comments the whole time. Just want to say what's up.
Thank you for listening.
Homie. Yep, absolutely. All right, bro. Have a good one. Okay, I'll talk to you soon.
All right, see ya. Bye.
See you, man. Bye.